Welcome to ADHD Whiskey. My name is Matt, and today we're doing a little bit of a bourbon skirmish. A little one-on-one, a little head-to-head. Today, it's Jack Daniel's 12-year versus Russell's Reserve 13-year. We got a battle of Tennessee versus Kentucky. Which one of these tasty little treats is gonna wind up winning and which one is gonna go down in defeats? There's only one way to find out, and that's by locking them into a steel cage called my mouth and having them fight till the finish. Jack Daniel's 12-year, courtesy of Jimmy Copeland, America, is going in glass labeled A. Russell's Reserve 13-year, courtesy of Jimmy Copeland, America, is going in glass labeled B. Both of these bourbons, even though some of you don't consider Jack Daniel's a bourbon, are going to be considered in my best whiskeys of the year in 2023. But we're going to find out in August which one is better, Jack 12 or Russell's 13. Going off of the statistics, Russell's 13 has an advantage in a couple of ways. First of all, Russell's 13 is 1 year older because 13 minus 12 equals 1. Also, the Russell's 13-year is barrel proof at 114.8, while the Jack Daniel's has been watered down from who knows what asthmatic proof point down to 107. In the battle of the buzzwords, the Russell's Reserve says that it's masterfully crafted. And for bonus points, they used the word culminate. While on the other hand, Jack Daniel's is using terminology like hand-selected and limited release. Enter the Julie-like wheel of confusion. Placing glasses down. Closing eyes. And confusing, 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 confusing. And we grab glass number 2, glass number 1. Glass number 1 smells phenomenal. I'm gonna go ahead and say that just based off of the nose of glass number 1, I think I probably already know what it is. These two profiles are not exactly what some similaritologists would consider to be similar. Jack Daniel's, which I definitely do believe, just to be honest, straight shooter, I'm not gonna fib to you, I smelled this and I immediately thought Jack Daniel's. Jack Daniel's has a very specific, delicious, sweet, fruity, yeasty, beasty nose. While Wild Turkey products like the Russell's 13 tend to be a little less fruity and a bit more funky. But I'm gonna pretend like I don't know which one is which. I'm gonna go into this completely objectively or subjectively, or whichever word fits this situation. I'm gonna nose them and taste them and then give my honest opinion on which one I believe is the superior whiskey. So glass number 1 is basically totally extremely sweet friggin' bourbon extract. If you mixed that bourbon extract with like marmalade, and that marmalade were made out of strawberries and cherries. Strawberry, cherry, and sugar marmalade. The nose on this is almost impossible to beat. The nose on this is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It's like if your nose had an incognito mode and its very own hub to visit. Because my nose isn't gonna last 2 minutes in this glass's ass before it, is done. That'll get edited out. All right, I'm gonna stop fawning over glass number 1, which I believe is a term that could be used. Fawning? Feigning? Let's go to glass 2. Yes, glass 2 is a bit more muted. And by a bit more muted, I mean very much more muted. We're getting distinct differences on the noses of these two. Glass number 1 is, like I described before, a friggin' smell factory, where glass number 2 is like a factory producing something different. Glass number 1 is like a straight piped exhaust with no catalytic converters, but what the vehicle is burning is delicious Tennessee whiskey, where glass number 2 is like got all the friggin' emissions devices still installed, and you put your nose up to the whiskey muffler and you're like, oh, I can tell that it's burning delicious Kentucky bourbon, but like, I wish it were straight piped. Someone stole this catalytic converter. Glass number 2 is a bit more citrus and a bit more twiggy. It kind of smells like a bird's nest that was filled up with those candy orange slices. Yeah, pretty accurate. So on the nose, there's nose comparison. Glass number 1 takes the cake, where glass number 2 smells awesome, but does not take the cake. Glass number 2, down the hatch. Yeah. Wow, that is good. That is so good. That is so good. I was 100% sure based off the nose which one was which, but after having my first taste of glass number 2, I am even more sure. I'm more than 100% sure. So the first glass I tasted, which was glass number 2, is providing a delicious experience of oak, and that citrusy bird's nest is making an appearance on the palate as it did on the nose. Lightly oily, coating the mouth very well. Second sip of glass number 2. Yeah, it's good. Man, that's good. A little bit of brightness coming through, a little bit of bright cherry, like a little bit of a Luden's cherry cough drop. But if it were like intermingled in a hay bale or something like that, it's like a farmer who has a piece of hay in his mouth was sucking on a Hall's cherry cough drop, and then he made out with them. Glass number 2, phenomenal. So now let's move to glass number 1, which was the winner in the nose category. Let's see if glass number 1 also takes the palate category. Glass number 1, down the hatch. Okay. If I just tasted the Jack Daniel's 12-year by itself, I would be like, wow, that's so phenomenal. But having tasted the higher proof Wild Turkey Russell's Reserve 13-year, I believe, before this, the higher proof point and the extra age on the glass number 2 that I sipped makes glass number 1 a bit more tame than I thought. The nose on this glass is first class, and the palate is right there with it, but having tasted them in the order in which I tasted, glass number 1 is kind of like mellowed out a little bit. Now that I've acclimated to this pour, let's take another sip. Glass number 1 is doing the things on the palate that it did on the nose. It's providing like dark, fruity, thick layers of like, I don't even know. It's got that red wine finish that I get on Jack Daniel's products. The fruity yeast is shining through on glass number 1 because I do think that it is the Jack Daniel's product. It's extra fruity and extra dark. For being watered down to 107, it's maintained like all the qualities you would want in a whiskey. This glass is maintaining some of the qualities that Jack Daniel Coy Hill has had in the past, but at a lower proof point, so it's not like short-circuiting all of your innards. It's just doing fantastic stuff in a very oily environment that it created inside your mouth passage. If your mouth were a black hole and Matthew McConaughey tried to enter it to like substack himself or whatever the heck they do to get to deep space, and your mouth drank some Jack Daniel's 12-year before that, Matthew McConaughey would get stuck in the black hole because it's just a sticky, icky, ooey. Know what I mean? No? Me either. No idea what I just said. But Matthew McConaughey is dreamy and so is Matthew McPorterhay. I am Matthew McPorterhay, and all right. I'm calling a stop to this bourbon skirmish at 1 minute 9 seconds of round number 2, declaring the winner by submission due to Americana, glass number 1, glass lettered A, which of course is the Jack Daniels. Like I said, the Russell's 13 is fantastic and did put up a little bit of a fight, but the Jack Daniels 12 is ridiculously good. Like, I don't know how they packed that much flavor into that 107 proof offering. When it comes to whiskeys like this, the only one that was released this year that I'm missing, the only bottle that I'm missing is the Michter's 10 bourbon. I've had a sample of it and friggin' phenomenal. But in order for it to be considered for my whiskey of the year, I gotta somehow get a bottle of it. So I am what some alphabeticologists would consider to be ISO of a Michter's 10 bourbon from 2023. I need to get one so hard because I want to compare that Michter's 10 year 2023, which some people say isn't 10 years old but older, and I agree after tasting the sample from Tommy friggin' D. Can Michter's 10 beat the Jack 12? Is it better than the Jack 12? I don't know. But if I get a bottle, then we'll skirmish it up in the octagon. And by octagon, I mean my mouth. So thank you so much for watching this bourbon skirmish in the comments below. Let me know, what do you think? Russell's 13 or Jack 12? And if you agree with me the Jack 12 is better, have you had the Michter's 10 this year? And is Michter's 10 better than the Jack 12? Or is Jack 12 still superior? My name is Matt, this is ADHD Whiskey. Like I always say, keep your head in the clouds but your mind on new ventures that you haven't told anybody about yet. Are these ventures related to things that you do already? Probably, maybe. Do these ventures involve people who you've met recently? Maybe they do. Do these hypothetical ventures benefit your Patreon community and followers? I would imagine that they could. Are these ventures burning a hole in your pocket? And by pocket, I mean your secret tank in your body because you just want to tell everybody about these ventures, but you just can't because it's not time yet. That would be accurate, probably. Hit subscribe, hit the thumbs up, or else there's gonna be bad news bears for you.